Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a new landlord, or just curious about property investing, this is the podcast for you. Sponsored by the Co-Living Collective, your trusted partner in creating vibrant and sustainable shared living experiences. Visit us at colivingcollective.com.au to learn more.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show. I'm your host, as always, Neil Gibb, and today I want to recap on a podcast I recorded in 2023, which I believe was episode 67. I'm talking about the Anglicare Australia rental affordability snapshot for essential workers. And in 2023, when they released that report, what they did is they took a snapshot of the market right across Australia. There's like 45,000 properties that they were on the market available for rent, and they wanted to see how many of these properties were affordable for a cohort of workers that they call the essential workers. And ironically, or not ironically, basically the reports that they brought back said that in Western Australia there was only 6 properties available that would be affordable for this cohort of workers without putting them into rental stress. 6 properties in Western Australia, which is staggering when you think about it. There was over 45,000 properties on the market, only 6 in Perth. And housing affordability is classed as spending no more than 30% of your gross wage on housing. This exercise that Anglicare Australia ran basically showed that the rental market's on its knees, and the people that are performing the essential roles that keep the country moving are struggling to pay for a roof over their own head. They're in rental stress, they're living far away from where they need to work or where they do work, so they've got long commutes to live somewhere that's even somewhere near affordable for them, which is now how this cohort of workers and now the target market for our HMOs. And if you think about these people in terms of what they do, who they are, and the jobs that they have, I would class them as like the best tenants that you'd want to see, because if you're getting someone like a school teacher, an aged care worker, a fire person, an ambulance driver, like these are good people with good jobs, and you'd love to see these people renting your housing from you. I believe as a property investor for the last 11 years now, I would always want to be renting my property to people like this. Good jobs, doing a good service, out of the house for the majority of the day, and they just need to come home, get a wash, have something to eat, wake up the next day and do it all again. So the report, again, got brought out in 2024, and this isn't just a bunch of charts and stats. It's like a deep dive into whether the people who keep our country running, and again, nurses, aged care workers, teachers, paramedics, hospitality workers, this report actually says whether they can rent a house or not. And we're not talking about buying a house, we're talking about renting a house or renting a room or even a small unit. Now, the report itself doesn't go into rooms, but it does go into renting a full property, and it factors in not just the rent, but also, well, it does actually just factor in the rent, but it doesn't factor in the gas, the water, the electric, the furniture, the internet, etc., etc. And it turns out that, again, there was around 45,000 listings on the market in 2004, and it's getting worse. And we've been saying this for a long time. Well, I've been saying it for a long time. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Right across the country, it's got worse. Perth's got a little bit better, but that may be just because we've got the best wages in the country. I think Perth went from 0.4% to 0.6% or something along them lines. 0.4% of properties were unaffordable, and now it's 0.6%. So it's a 0.2% increase, which is nothing in the grand scheme of things when you think about how many people are actually in these roles and the fact that there's thousands of properties on the market. In fact, let me just quickly, I've got the report in front of me, so let me just quickly pull up. In Perth this year, there were in 2024, there were 18 properties available, which is 0.6%. And yeah, previously it was 0.2%. So it's gone up 0.4%. Wow, who cares? Phenomenal, really, when you think about it. Absolutely phenomenal that only 0.6% of properties in Perth were classed as affordable for people in these roles. And this is why we do what we do, right? We talk about the missing middle of housing, where if you've ever heard of that that's saying. What they're referring to is at one end of the spectrum of housing, they've got single-storey, low-level housing, which is your standard 4x2 family home that we all live in or that we've been building for many, many years, 250 square metres on average. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we've got these real like high-rise apartment blocks, and we've got nothing in the middle, which is why they call it the missing middle. And this is more townhouses, more villas, more manor homes, more 2 to 3 storey apartment blocks. And when you look at the rental market, what we've got at one end is the social and affordable housing supplied by the government and normally have some sort of community housing provider involved. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got the private rental market. You've got nothing in between. So we've been calling the HMO the missing middle of the rental market since, I don't know, since I started. 2017, 2019, who cares? I've been saying it for a long time. It's getting worse and it's getting worse and it's getting worse. And why is it getting worse? Because we keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And that's Einstein's definition of insanity. Yet we're going out there and we're building more 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses on the fringes of the country, on the fringes of the metro areas, and we're expecting things to get more affordable, but it just becomes more unaffordable. This is why we need to change what we are doing. I get really passionate about this because when these reports come out, it kind of backs up what I've been saying for a long time, and makes me realise that I'm not just going insane and sat on my laptop talking to myself, hoping that people listen to me. When I see it in writing and it backs up my theory with practical examples of snapshots of the market, then it just makes me not happy, but it just makes me understand and appreciate that I'm on the right sort of track. Excuse me. So I've got some information for you that I have put into note form, so stick with me. So the snapshot in 2024 across Australia reviewed 45,000 rental listings, and half of the 16 essential roles profiled could afford 1% or less of available rentals. 1% of available rentals. That is just bonkers. School teachers, apparently the highest paid among them, could only afford 3.7% of all rentals on the market. Hospitality workers could afford 0.8% of all rentals on the market, and cleaners could afford 0.9%. I don't know if you've tried to hire a cleaner lately, but they all want absolutely massive wages. I remember when I could get a cleaner for $30, $35 an hour. Now they're creeping up. I think they're almost doubled in rent. So I think the cleaner would probably be up there with a teacher nowadays, especially the cleaners I've been speaking to. And then it's saying that rent rose by 8% in 2024, while wages only went up 4%. So the gap is getting bigger instead of smaller. The math just does not work out. So if we look in Western Australia specifically, hospitality workers could only afford 18 listings out of 45,115 properties nationwide. That's 0.6%. And then WA tied with Victoria for being one of the least affordable states for hospitality workers. Is it a coincidence that we're actually considering, well, we're not considering, we are expanding into Victoria? Or are we just seeing the same thing playing out over there? And can we see an opportunity to replicate our business in a different state and have the same impact and get this very similar results? Cleaners in Western Australia, Bunbury and Mandurah and Outback North. So Outback North, we're talking like past Geraldton. 0 properties available. Cleaner could rent in Bunbury, Manager, Outback North. 0 properties. And in the WA wheat belt, there was only 2 affordable listings found for cleaners. That's like pathetic when we think about it. I think Australia is the lucky country. Yeah, we've got people sleeping in cars and sleeping in tents and all these other crazy things, which obviously you don't see on the postcard. You just see white beaches and blue skies. But there is a big problem out here, guys. You know, if you've been listening to my content for a while, you know I've been talking about this for a while, which is the whole reason we do what we do. So since 2023, WA hospitality workers went from 14 affordable listings to 18. So we've seen that slight little increase. But we're still under 1%. Still under 1%. 1% of all rentals are available for someone that's a hospitality worker. And across most essential jobs in Western Australia, affordability either stayed the same or went backwards. New South Wales saw their affordable rentals for affordability workers halved. So whilst WA didn't nosedive as hard, we're not improving fast either. And in 2023, national vacancy rates were low. This year, 2024, they hit a record low of 1%. So fewer homes available, higher prices, more competition, more people moving to the country because there's so much work over here that we need to bring more skilled people into the country. Yet we keep building the wrong style of housing. And not the wrong style of housing, but I feel like we're not building enough. We're not being diverse enough is what I'm trying to say. Yes, apartments are really difficult to get out the ground at the minute because the feasibilities are just not attractive. But if you're going to invest in a standard property, why not invest in something that's future-proofed, cash flow positive, and there's so many upsides to what we do, and seeing these reports just makes me even more passionate about it. So this report isn't just about the numbers, so when you think about it, it gives you a realistic overview of what's going on in there in the market. But this is really about nurses who don't live near hospitals because they can't afford to. It's about teachers that are potentially commuting for hours to get to school every day to teach our kids the things that they need to be taught. And it's about aged care workers sleeping in their cars because they've got nowhere else to go. This is the reality of the pillars of our community are staring down the barrel of this because there is no housing for them. Or they're either spending so much on their housing that it's just, they've got no life. So, and in Western Australia, we're not building nowhere near enough houses. We've got a massive public housing wait list, mental health workforce crisis, and we can't fix any of these things without more people coming to the country to build the houses that we need, to support the people with the mental health issues that we need. It's just phenomenal, isn't it? Apparently there's providers in regional Victoria called Benetas who've started repurposing aged care housing just to house their team in. And we'll probably see more and more of that happening. I've heard there's some companies down southwest, Western Australia, that have done something similar, not aged care facilities, but just started buying housing to put their staff in so they can keep the businesses running. So if nothing gets done, if this gets worse in 2025, which is now when the snapshot comes out, we could be seeing sub 1% affordability for all the essential roles. Workers leaving the sector altogether because they simply cannot afford to stay, and they'll either be upskilling or just looking for another job that pays them more money. Maybe that they don't provide that essential service, but they can get more money. Maybe they're working in sales or something like a commission-based role. Or maybe you got more employers forced to subsidise or directly provide housing, which is what that company in Victoria have done. We've been speaking to lots of companies around it about providing housing for their clients, for their staff or their team. We've even got companies that are taking head leases on our 6-bedroom, 6-bathroom HMOs at the minute as well. And then you've also got the issues of regional industries falling apart because, not from the lack of demand, but the lack of housing for people to live in and rent and actually allow them to work in these regional areas. WA's economy, and all economy really depends on its people, doesn't it? If we can't house them, then everything starts breaking down. And we've seen a lot of issues in the construction industry. We're still seeing delays because we just can't get enough people. So, according to Anglicare Australia, Western Australia needs to be building around 25,000 social homes per year. The government needs to build 25,000 social homes per year nationwide. And I think John Kerry keeps talking about how many billions he spent, but I listened to another podcast where there was someone from the Greens party, and they were saying he's actually lost more houses than he's built because they were just not good enough to be refurbished, or they just needed to get rid of some of the land. So we're actually going backwards, even though he's banging his chest and saying he's doing a good job. And I do believe the Housing Minister has done and is doing a good job with the bureaucracy and the restraints that are there for him. Anglicare Australia are also saying there needs to be a tax reform, so negative gearing and capital gains discount and making it worse. Most of the benefits go to the top income earners, and that's not helping nurses or childcare workers. Well, I don't know about that, because they're not buying these houses, they're only renting these houses, aren't they? So, and then rental regulations, they're saying that we need national standards. WA renters have minimal protection. Let's get serious about capping rent increases and banning no cause evictions. Rent increases, meh. Don't believe in that. This is a free market, and if you've got a good product and there's demand for it, then I don't see why you can't charge what you can charge. I mean, we've got various levels of rooms available, and I did a podcast on this, rooms versus micro apartments. Like, why should we limit what we can charge people if we're putting a quality asset and a quality rentable product into the market? No cause evictions, yeah. I agree in that, and we've got 6 people living in a house. It's very rare that we just kick somebody out. It's extremely rare that we just kick somebody out. We do kick people out if they break the rules, and they're generally the people that obviously then arc up, and we either lose one person or we lose 5 other people. And as an investor, as a property owner, as one of our clients, I know exactly what you would prefer, and I know what I would prefer. And then Anglicare Australia also saying there needs to be a livable wage, a guaranteed wage that reflects housing and living costs should be non-negotiable. I don't know how that would work, but, how would that work? They'd have to say, here is your wage, and 30% of that goes to housing. Yeah, that's far too hard to police. So, as we know, essential workers, they keep the the world moving. They keep Australia moving. They are the backbone of the local communities. They are the pillars of community. Their lives are hard at the minute. We're doing our best to provide quality, affordable housing to people. And, the government, this problem, I've said before, this government is too big for the government to fix. It's too big, and chaos equals cash. It's chaotic out there right now. The market's on its knees, and chaos equals cash. If you're an investor and you want to make money, but make money with your hand on your heart, and Robert Pradlin, if you listen to the podcast I did with Robert, he always talks about compassionate capitalism, and I believe that's what we are. We are good people that are trying to do good for the world. Yes, we are for-profit business, but we're reusing the profit to provide more affordable quality housing, to help more people out, to have more impact, so that we can then keep moving forward. So that's where we're at, guys. I will put the link to the Essential Workers report in the podcast. Take a read through. It's actually really, really interesting. Some of the things they talk about, some of the things that they actually discuss, the data points that they collect. Very, very interesting stuff. So hope that helps. As always, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I will see you again on the next podcast. And remember, I haven't said this for a while, every master was once a disaster. Every winner was once a beginner.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you can stay up to date with all cash flow positive property updates.